Wish TV's Focus on Food is a commitment to improving food accessibility in the community. Hear from expert culinary contributors, health professionals, and people who are making a difference in the fight to eradicate hunger. Made possible by Indiana University Health.
Wish TV is focused on food. The head of Gleaners Food Bank put out a fairly stark warning a couple of weeks ago about proposed cuts to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP. Many still refer to it as food stamps. In it, Fred Glass says that the cuts are part of the president's spending proposal and could cause what he calls a needless, self-inflicted humanitarian and economic disaster for Indiana and the country. Fred Glass is with us this morning to talk about that statement, the reason you decided to put it out now, and what's happening in Washington and how it affects folks here at home. Thanks for making time for us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Those are strong words. You are somebody who's been in the political sphere for so many years. I know you didn't do that lightly. What pushed you to the point of saying those?
Yeah, I don't take any joy in saying that, Scott, but the facts really speak for themselves, and they needed to be said. Congress is planning, at least the House side, to cut $300 billion with a B dollars out of the SNAP program. For Indiana, that means $353 million because they're going to revert it to the states. But guess what? If the state doesn't have the money, those are cuts. And I have no blame for the state. They're minding their own business, trying to deal with their own financial realities. But that $353 million cut is 133 million meals for Hoosiers in need. 610,000 Hoosiers rely on SNAP. 264,000 of them are children. 90,000 of them are senior citizens. What do we tell them to do? So we're going to push them over the cliff further into poverty, and that's going to be a disaster for them, but also the rest of society, because hunger impacts all of us.
So in this moment where we're between House approval and the Senate deciding what to do you feel like this is a critical juncture? And what are you doing, and what would you want people to do in this moment?
Well, they used to tell me at Rebuff when I was in civics class that the House is the cup and the Senate is the saucer. And so I'm hopeful that the more deliberative body, cooler heads will prevail, and they'll step back from the abyss. Because this isn't only bad for people facing hunger who are hardworking or unable to work, but it's also the rest of society. Hunger increases crime rates. Hunger increases absentee rates. Hunger lowers graduation rates. So hopefully the Senate will find that that's too high a price to be paid to fund tax cuts for the wealthy, and we'll have a better result.
Let's drill down on that idea of this may be ushered off to the states. That's been an argument, that this should not be a federal issue. It should always be on the states to begin with. I guess a longer response to that, and then knowing that that may be a possibility whether you want it or not, how do you prepare for something like that?
Yeah. So for the 60 years of the SNAP program, there's never been a penny of state money in it. And you know, these are nice people. They don't want to feel like they're doing bad things. So they're like, well, what's 25%? We'll just send that back to the state and they'll handle it. But that's 133 million meals. The entire charitable food system in Indiana, all 11 food banks, we created 108 million meals. So there's
the entire work.
The entire work. So there's no place to pick up the slack. The state doesn't have the tax dollars. The charitable system doesn't have the capacity. So those are cuts. People will do without. Let's call this what it is. They are spending food cuts. And there's no place for the money to come from. So it's going to come out of the hide of the 610,000 Hoosiers who are either old children or already are working and can't make ends meet.
So let's take this back to the beginning. The statement, you issued it, the House went ahead with it with very few, if any, significant changes to it. Is your level of panic rising even above what you wrote in that segment? Or that statement?
Yeah, I'd like to say it's not panic. I mean, if people read the statement, I did call it out for what it is, but it's all very fact-based. And I'm hopeful that, again, the Senate will take a more deliberative approach to this, but the stakes are very, very high, and I think we need to call out when things like this happen. And I'm not even talking about the Medicaid cuts and other things that exacerbate the number of people who are going to be hurt. And this idea that there are people eating bonbons on their couch waiting for their free food is just a figment of people who want to justify making these cuts. These are people who are working, or they're children, or they're disabled, or they're elderly.
I volunteered at Gleaners. You may have as well. You know there's no bonbon section at Gleaners. Fred Glass, thank you. Appreciate your
Thanks,
time
Scott.
this morning.
Appreciate it.
We'll be
Thanks
checking with you from time to time to see if there are significant changes as the Senate version makes its way through things. And then if you do have to deal with all of this on the back end as well.
Yeah,
Fred Glenn, again, Fred Glass, he heads up Gleaners Food Bank, which serves so many food pantries and kitchens and things like that.
This is the Wish TV Focus on Food podcast, made possible by Indiana University Health. Find more on the Focus on Food website by visiting wishtv.com/food and watch the ongoing coverage on Wish TV.